So why don't we go ahead and get started? But before we get started, I did want to say, how many technicians in the group today? Sure.
How many what?
Technicians. I just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing. Right? It's amazing, right? 20 months in to a global pandemic, and you're there every day. So it's humbling to see what you guys are doing. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go. So let's talk about continuous improvement. So what do you guys think about that term? When you think about continuous improvement, what comes up? What do you think? Yeah.
Always finding a way to make yourself better. No one's perfect.
No one's perfect, right? Try and find something that's better. Absolutely.
I'm very visual. I think about a river versus a pond.
Okay. Flow.
Yeah.
Flow. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. Flow of work. One thing I think about is time. Right? What's the one thing you can't get back? Can't get time back. So I think about continuous improvement is how much time can we save? How much time can we, how much waste do we experience in each one of our days that consumes time that we can't get back? So question, managers, leaders in the room. How many meetings have you been to that you don't know why you're at the meeting?
Careful, really. What number system are we using?
Yeah.
How did I get here?
How many of those meetings had an agenda? Any of them? Right? So how do you know how to prepare? How do you know if it's a good use of your time? One thing to think about. How many, and you don't have to show hands, but how many people have sent out a meeting request without an agenda? I have, right? And what does it do? It wastes people's time. So that's what I wanted to get to, right? It's like, what are the things that we can do to reduce waste, confusion, save time, and make things better? So that's what it is. So as you think about the presentation today, always think about how can I keep time? How can I continue to conserve time? So we talk about continuous improvement, why CI? So how I think about this is it's important. So what I just talked about, waste, right? Waste usually leads to problems. So how many times have you been at work and there's a problem and nobody wants to talk about it? Right? Nobody wants to address it. Push it under the rug, we don't need it. Why do CI surface those problems? If you don't surface them, it never gets better. If it never gets better, you never feel like you're making progress. And so that's the key piece there. If you think about, if you surface a problem and we don't do anything about it, that's pretty disrespectful. We want to think about the continuous improvement as having high levels of respect and trust for each other. If I get a problem, raise it, and let's work on it. Sometimes we have to prioritize that, but that's okay. And you can do that, right, with your team, with your customer, with your suppliers or vendors. They're all part of the ecosystem. We all want to make those things get better. So when we think about what is CI, right? I always think about just making the right work easier to do. What's the right work? Well, it depends. Right? If I'm servicing a pump, an ID pump, it's getting that PM done. If it's putting together a presentation, it's getting the right words on the page and doing it quick. So as you think about what you've got here, right? So we think about making the right work easier to do. We heard the term a lake or a pond versus a river and creating that flow, right? So as we think about the work that we do in the day, right? Everything's an outcome. And if you look at this bottom line, right? It's about what's the right work to be doing. And this other part is kind of the waste, or the things that distract you, that don't go well. I have to go look for a part. I can't find a manual because I'm not exactly sure how to do the PM, right? You guys manage thousands of devices. How do you know how to do the PM on every single one? Exactly as it should be done, right? Don't, right? But I have to go search for a manual. Well, if I have to go search for the manual, is that time I want to use, versus versus doing the PM? Probably not. So if I can do things to reduce that searching, that looking, that time, then I get the PM done sooner, or I get the repair done quicker. And I'm on to the next one. So I'm on to the next work. So when we think about CI, we're trying to get, how can we do the right work the easiest way possible at the lowest effort, right? And that's where you see this flow. So flow, right? Great outcome, quality outcome, high quality outcome, shortest amount of time, lowest amount of effort. That's what we're trying to get to. Sounds like impossible, right? That sounds like, well, how do you do that? We think about it as, where I'm at, we think about it as wins. How can we put wins on the board? What can we improve? So we think about it really in 3 areas. Think about it in the shop, right? We think about it like in a function, like what is accounting doing? What's HR doing? Because they're part of the team too, right? And they gotta make improvements. And then sometimes there's things that you need to fix that you can't fix on your own. You need some help, right? The IT system. We'd love to be able to fix it, but we might not be able to. We might need some developers to help us fix it or improve it. So we do that in collaboration. But the whole thing here is just really pick a problem and solve it, fix it. What can you do, right? Here's some examples of wins that we have that we talk about, right? We'll talk about what success means, but that's really organizing the shop. Right? Can I find the parts? Do I have the test equipment? Where are the manuals if I need them? Do I have a cart with my tools on it? How are the tools organized? Are my spare parts in the right place? Do I have a place where the parts come in from the dock? Organization. We think about, we spend a lot of time. And Cliff, this is where we're bringing that team on board. We talk about new business launch system. Man, when we bring on a new customer, we have a full system that we take you guys through and bring you on board. It's got like 120 checklists, 120 items on a standard checklist that everybody follows, standard work, whether it be supply chain, whether it be implementation team, finance team, CI team. We all follow the checklist, right? Standard work, and it's really made a difference. And then we have another collaborative win is we have something called the predictive work system. This is our online monitoring of devices so that we can start to predict when failure will occur. So we're monitoring, as you can imagine, we're monitoring MRs, CTs, cath labs to say, do we have a healing issue? Are we seeing tube spits, right? And what can we do proactively so that we don't take that, so the system, when it needs to go down, it's down at the right time for the customer. So it's not unplanned downtime, but it's planned downtime. So there's some simple, those are some ideas of wins that we have, right? We have to talk about OEM docs, right? We spend a lot of time collecting manuals so that when you get a work order, you get an OEM document associated with that device in the work order. So that if I have a question, I can go search versus having to go look for a manual. So those are things that we've worked on, but all of those things are just wins. We celebrate the wins. And we try to do, last year, I think we did about 3,800 wins across all the organization. But that's our goal. How do we continue to make things better? Why are we making things better? Take the waste out, conserve time. Thoughts on that? You guys, any wins that you guys talk about or experience in your organizations? Things that would pop up that say, yeah, we did this, or we're working on surfacing this problem. I think.
Well, it wasn't anything we did, but when we transitioned to our next, the win that I think the biggest win we have is parts. I think Tyler and they go into the work order and they select the part they need, but part of them are in the vendors pop up and they choose the vendor, and then it comes to me and I hit approve, and then it goes to the order ordering department, they order it, it comes back within about 5 minutes, ding, here's your PO number. Man, it's quick, it's fast.
It's probably less
We
than
used to
10%
wait
of the time it
days
used to be.
sometimes for.
No.
Just in my, I'm not talking about the time frame of doing it, like just my personal time I spend is at least, no more than 10% of what I used to spend.
Yeah.
If it takes me 5 minutes now, it took me 50 minutes before.
Yeah, it's easy. It's crazy how much time saved.
So that's great to hear. And that's a win, right?
That's a big one.
It's a win. So how does, so that's really, so why do we do CI? We want to surface and solve problems. Like we want to reduce the waste in the process. And we want to be able to celebrate those wins, right? So we got, it's a diagram. We talk about how does the CI system work, but you can see, we talk about the other part that is important is, when we talk about surfacing and solving problems, is there a way to surface the problems so that all the organization can see the problem? Because there might be something that somebody else could help with, but you don't know about it. So we actually use an online portal where we surface all of our problems, put them online, and people can read them, they can vote on them, and when it gets voted on, it rises in priority, right? We have some, believe it or not, we have some improvements that we're working on that have over 600 different people that have voted on them to say this is a number one important thing for us. And we work that as hard as we can. We also track wins in our shops. What we call a CI board, where we put our, we track the wins. How many wins does this shop have? What are they working on today? What's in the future for them to work on? But and it's all problems that they've identified. So between the two, they both flow down. And then we have some structure around it. We talk about our problem-solving process. We call it the BMed Zero. Anybody hear that term?
Is it like assistant or something?
It's like me, who's not really, I'm not a biomed, but I get to go to the shops and see what's happening and listen to what is really important for you guys to be successful. And then to bring that back to the organization to say, this is what we need to focus on, right? That's what we call BMed Zero. And a lot of the leaders within our organization go out and do that, so that we're not missing anything. So we're trying to make the best outcome we can. Because our goal is great associate engagement. And the way to do that is make sure our customers are happy, that our technicians have what they need to be successful. We also, believe it or not, we do a top 25 survey. So we get lots of feedback on our CMMS system, right? And lots of feedback to say how to make it better. We actually send out the top 25 responses on what needs to be improved. And we ask everybody to vote. Give me your 5 that are most important to you. That comes back to the organization as the top 25 survey. And then we use developers to improve it, how to code it, how to bring it in. And every quarter, every 12 to 14 weeks, we release a new functionality in our CMMS based on that feedback. That's how we drive that. And so you can see we do, even one of the later or earlier ones was, we call it work order superfind. So if I need to find a specific work order in our CMMS, we now have that ability to really find it. It's multiple search locations. OEM docs, required development, but we were able to get those documents loaded into the CMMS system, right? And so now they flow with the work order tasks, their work orders. We talk about, local wins. These are wins that the shops have done on their own. We're doing bed scale or scale PMs and bed PMs, and now we've come up with a very specialized cart that we'll share. Now I'll share another one coming up here in a minute on something that we did as well. And then the next thing that we're working on, how do we do standardized test capture? Right? Imagine doing an electrical safety test, and the tester just puts the results right into the work order. No, we're writing it down, no, we're typing it in, write it. That's the goal. How much time do you spend writing that stuff down? Exactly. So this is how, and then we talk about celebrating success. We look at our top sites. We actually go through, we have 347 sites that go through the Site Excellence Awards, right? And we look at every one. You know, and these features, these functions, these outcomes are a part of that ranking. You know, and then we have good, you know, we understand what our KPIs are, our key performance indicators, and how are we doing with respect to turnaround time and PM management and on uptime. So that's how our, you know, that's how an example of how the CI system can run. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, all focused on surfacing and solving problems, focusing on, you know, what do we need to work on, and then executing the work, and then celebrating the success. So, you know, we talked about, there's also a component, we heard, self-improvement. So, you know, what can we do there? We really focus on what's the best way to solve a problem. We have a standard process, but it's up to you what's, you know, what's the best way to solve that problem, and you can go after it. Learn by doing. Nobody learns in the office. Nobody learns sitting at the bench. Right? You got to go out and do it. So we're very much about, you got to go and do it. You got to engage. You got to see it. You can't theorize on it. You just got to go do it. And then you got to seek feedback. Right? Personal development. Ask me if I'm doing. What am I doing it okay? No, you don't. You got to focus more on, you know, getting the work done. Right? So that's self-improvement mindset. So who's ever heard the term Kaizen? Yeah, what the hell does that mean? Exactly. What does that mean? I wanted to put it in here just because people tend to link, you know, continuous improvement and Kaizen and lean and all, you know, all that stuff, right? It's, you get, you know, there's a term out there, lean, right? How many have heard the term lean? Yeah. What do you think people consider the acronym for lean to be? What does lean stand for some people? Because some people have had a not so good experience with lean.
Yeah, most hospital departments when they hear lean, they're like, oh, they're gonna downsize this again. They're gonna
Less
set.
employees are needed, right? Not our focus, right? This is fun. Surfacing and solving problems, increasing productivity, right? Because we can increase productivity. There's no stoppage of work coming your way, right? Right? As the OEM programs go up, regulated states go up, right? There's more PMs to be done, right? The frequency of PMs seems to be going up. For cybersecurity is the next thing that's taking time, right? We think about capital asset management, right? All of a sudden, you know, as technicians, we've got more work, right? But we're not adding technicians. So how do we do that? High associate engagement and continue to support the work that needs to be done. So Kaizen, Japanese word, means improvement or change for the better. When we think about a Kaizen mindset, it's all about thinking, right? 80% thinking, 20% doing. I'm like naturally wired the opposite way. I'm like 80% do and 20% think, and sometimes I get down the wrong path. So, you know, we're going to take this hill, but this hill is in Nebraska. We're supposed to be in Missouri, right? Okay. Well, we took the hill in Nebraska, but we're good. You know, and we talk about it. You know, we're always trying to get better. There's really no way. So that's kind of overview of continuous improvement. That's kind of the overview. I got a couple of tools that I can share with you, but what thoughts or feedback? What do you think? Does it make sense? Where do we miss? Questions? Any feedback? I'm open to, remember, self-development. Okay. So let's talk about everybody, yeah, common picture of the house, great, basic work. Standardization. You can't make improvement unless you have a standard to start from, right? Because if you don't have a standard, they can't measure, you know, am I getting better, right? So that's the whole intent here, right? Create a standard and improve from it. If I don't do that, then I never know if I'm getting better or not. So here's the example. So we have a standard. We have a standard process. Right? How many have done IV pump PMs? Yeah. You love them? the best. Exactly. So, an example here, these are Larry's pumps, right? Years and years, it's about 20 minutes to do one pump. Right? It's about the cycle time to do it, one computer plugged in. We started doing some work, feedback, when this all came from technicians, it wasn't somebody else, it was all technicians, right? They said, okay, could we set something up where we could maybe put them together? Do two at once, kind of nest them. Is it possible? Well, we started looking at it. Actually, we were able to get up to 4 of them nested and run them interchangeably, right? On one PC in one pump station. So basically, we took the time that it took to do one pump, 20 minutes. We're able to do 4 pumps in 20 minutes. So imagine a shop that's got 3,000 pumps and you have pump pump, right? And you're stressed out because you got 3,000 pumps. Now all of a sudden I can do it 4 times faster at the same quality. No cut in quality, no cut in the cycle. That's our standard. Right? We deploy that across 150 different shops. Now you have something that associates really dig. And now we have a standard. Can we get better? Is there something? Are we maxed out? But that's an example of standard work, creating a standard. We talked about waste in good fashion. Everybody wants to categorize everything, right? So when we think about waste, we put it in six different groups. Now, if you go out and study this on the internet, you'll see like 8 wastes. But we're clinical engineering. We have our own special table. And so this is our 6 forms of waste. And really, how many, I mean, they all make sense, right? But I will tell you, the most important one, we talked about it already, is talent. We don't use everybody's talent. Right? 2 reasons. 1, do we ask, right? Do we ask what's the best way to solve a problem? And 2, do we share it, right? So it's kind of, it's 2-way, right? It's like, as a site manager, as a leader, ask, and as the team, provide the information back. Right? Got an idea? Share it. Because many times we miss that. And think about the potential of the team to solve a problem. 1 person or 10 people. So that's for me, and when I think about waste and making things better, we got to make sure we're utilizing the whole group. That's the biggest thing. I would say the second one for us, right, is probably, when we think about motion, how many people spend time searching for stuff? Exactly, right? How do we get better at searching, right? That's one of our focus areas is we got to eliminate searching, right? When we think about our team, we spend almost 70% of our time doing service. It's really amazing. But in that time, we spend about 14% of that searching. Right? So how do we make that better? Because that's a significant waste that we're working on to improve. But this table, kind of shows you. So what are the definitions? And then what are some common things that you look for, right? So we talked about motion, and there's the searching. We want to be able to search less. That's the big piece. Any thoughts on this pinwheel? Makes sense?
How do you establish, for instance,
Yeah.
ROI on things like the decreased amount of searching using RFID?
Mhm.
I mean, it's not just an asset management tool, it's also a human resource management tool.
Yep.
How do you market that to your end user to get them to invest their resources, money, into the end product that you're trying to collaborate with them to reduce the cost of service?
Yeah. So how we do that, how we think about reducing the cost of service, especially for searching, is if I can reduce search time by call it 10%. Now all of a sudden as a technician, I might be able to manage more devices, right? Because I spend less time searching, right? I spend more time delivering service. So we call it device absorption rate. And so we think about how many devices per tech is the right number, right? Is it 1,000 devices per technician? Is it 2,000 devices per technician? And we monitor that. And quite honestly, as we do improvement work, we can actually see that number grow. And as it kind of levels, as we slow down some of that improvement work, like development work, we see that number start to flatten out. So we think about device absorption rate or devices managed per technician. And as that number increases, you can take on more business or grow your site with the same number of technicians. And that's how we think about it.
Okay, but how do you convey your margin, revenue margin in your operation and reflect it to effectively to your customer for asset availability? I mean, for me to say this investment is yours because it increases your asset management, it improves that, and it's about asset availability and regulatory compliance.
Yes.
But that's blah, blah, blah when you say I need you to invest $160,000 in infrastructure the first month that gets started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, that's definitely right, because you're like, well, how do I pay for that, right? Because I have this 160K startup. So how we would look at that, how I would talk to that is, look, the equipment will be more available for you, number one, because we'll spend less time searching for it and it'll be ready to go. Number two, PM management will be higher because I won't spend as much time searching for it. And three, let's see, how would I say on my third one, I would say, I would put it down as, look, do I really need as many devices does the customer really need as many devices as they have? Exactly, right? You think about what's the typical utilization of an IV pump in a shop or at a site? I'm sorry, at a site.
We need at least 2 in each room.
Yeah, we've seen where that utilization rate is about 40%, right?
48 was the highest.
There you go.
I'm actually monitoring it last month.
Yeah, exactly. And so think about that, right? So if I don't need as many devices, like based on this investment, and I take out 10, 12, 15% of my inventory, that's a good thing for the customer, right? And that's how, quite honestly, I mean, it sounds like, well, you guys are a clinical engineering business, but we do work with the customer on asset management and say, look, you don't need, you can take out this, this number of pumps. Look, we'll even put them in the closet, hold them, and you'll see that you don't need them. But that utilization piece is the third aspect. To help.
Well, yeah. It's just getting over that investment hump where the investment has been made.
Yep.
Why do I care about whether or not I'm gonna have a higher utilization on equipment that I've already paid for? That somebody already made the choice that okay, your line item pricing indicates that, your full service management on this device costing you this much.
Yeah.
$48 a year, we're gonna reduce your inventory by X number of devices.
Yes.
Improving your cost, reducing your cost, and improving our ability and your utilization of the assets that you already own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, $160,000 is no big deal sometimes, but you got a CFO that's really got, a fist on it. When really, I can't convey the satisfaction in work that the biomedical equipment technicians will experience with an improved life, planning,
Yeah.
and improving asset.
Yeah, the associate engagement piece is very hard to quantify to the CFO, absolutely. You have to go, you really need to use the utilization and reduction in inventory, which quite honestly is a reduction in OpEx spend for the CFO, right? So that's your best way to approach it.
So if I reduce your inventory, then it's, your ROI in this is 38 months.
It might be.
Can I make you, yeah.
Yeah, it might be.
Enter the conversation with you if I can reach that.
Right.
What is your trigger?
Right, what's your hurdle rate? Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about going and seeing. So this is, because you can't make improvement unless you see it, right? So that's the goal here, right? I mean, go and see it, determine what you need to do, talk, see, understand the waste in the process. Draw it out if you need to, okay? Call it spaghetti diagram, but it's just understanding how does the work get done in the shop, right? So that's really, as we think about waste, that's how we understand the waste, right? 6S. Anybody here 6S? Yeah, cool. So it's really a structured way to organize the shop. Right? But we had a 6S, because if you go study this, if you'll look at it, it's 5S, right? It's 5S. But we think about, well, 6S is safety. Right? We want to make sure everybody goes home safe. Everyone's come back to work the next day, right? How many people have used the Scotty peeler and didn't put the cover on it, right? Exactly.
People use
Oh, come on. Danger, but they have a plastic one now. But that's where, so we think about just, you want to take pride in what you do, right? You take pride in your house, right? House is organized, garage is organized, right? Shop should be organized, absolutely. Standard way to do it, right? Take everything, sort it out. What do I need? What don't I need? Right? Put it in the order that you want it, clean it up, standardize, right? Standardize. The hard step in this thing is sustaining it, right? So easy to excellent. It's easy, right? But the goal is make it easy, make it clean, take pride in it. We as an organization, we send out shop pictures, right? Then we get it organized. Can we, what does that look like? Is our test equipment where it needs to be? Can I find it, right? What, reducing search. Are there boxes on the floor? Trip hazard. Don't trip over it, okay? Keep it clean, right? Do I know where my parts are? Spare parts, what parts? If I'm doing IV pump PMs, do I know where all the parts are? They're right there. I'm not going looking for them. They should be right there. But this is, we can do shop excellence, right? It doesn't just apply to shop. We do this in, we have a central office in Indy. We do the same thing, right? Organized, right? Because sometimes some people will feel, another thought that you always hear, especially in these organizations, it's like, yeah, you're making us clean the shop, but does this only apply to the field, right? This applies to everybody. This applies to central office. We go into finance, accounting, HR, CI, supply chain. Success is applies everywhere. How to apply it in the house, right? Garage is organized, kitchen. You can go at it wherever you need. Third tool I want to talk about is visual management, right? How do we run into visual management every day, right? Believe it or not. If you saw this shape while you're driving down the road and it didn't say stop, what would you do? Go. Move.
It's optional as a bright one.
Real-time feedback. How many people have passed a speed limit sign and it's flashing the speed? What do you do?
Yeah. Not me.
Verify that I can see if you're speedometer.
But see, it had a meaning for each of us, right? We all had a meaning for it, right? So it's doing its thing, right? Anybody recognize this picture? Any thoughts on where that picture might be? Which one? This top right corner.
Probably parking lots when we're coming in and out.
Close.
No.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria, that's a good idea.
Looks like
Subway station in Tokyo. Because if you stand right here and then this door is open, it might be kind of flat. So stand on the sides, let everybody come off, and everybody goes in,
So,
see, right?
I go,
Exactly. What does that mean?
got mail.
Okay. Is that, right? What do you think that means?
Can't tell you what it is.
So think about those are binders on a shelf, service manuals,
Oh, about volumes, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
right?
ordered, I think.
Order. Where it's in the right order, something out of place, but I can see it, right? That's the power of visual management. We also use it in the shop, in the office, right? And this is where we talk about the CI board, right? How many wins do we have? This particular one's had 12 wins, proud team. Okay? The shop's got 5, right? And then you can kind of see, shop or office organization, right? Is everything clean? Do I have a desk that's just covered with stuff and I don't know what's going on? Where's it organized? Can I see the flow of work? Remember we talked about flow, high quality outcomes over short duration. Can I see it? Is it there? So that's visual management. So those are the 3 tools that I want to talk about. Really kind of 4 if you think about it. Standardization. What can we do to standardize the work? We talked about identifying the waste, get rid of it. We talked about 6S, kind of organizing the work that we do. And then 4th one is visual management. 4 simple tools, all just to solve a problem. That's all we need. Right? Some people will think continuous improvement is this big, huge, gnarly thing. Just a couple of simple tools will help get it done. I think they'll celebrate the win. So hopefully I didn't keep you too late, but I just want to share, how you start. Pick a problem that matters, right? Listen to the work that's being done. Listen to the associates. And enable those problems to be surfaced and solved. That's the goal.